good news can often get overlooked or buried by the negative in our everyday lives. So let's change that. I'm Adrianna.
And I'm Wyatt.
We're just two ordinary people without any special qualifications or anything, trying to navigate life. We invite you to join us as we share wholesome stories, news articles of hope, and ideas about how we can all make the world just a little bit brighter. We are uplifting positive stories. Welcome back to another episode of Uplifting Positive Stories. Happy Halloween, everyone!
Ooh. I can't remember, does this come out on Halloween or the day before Halloween? All right, so if you're the day of listeners, tomorrow, Halloween.
Woo, yeah.
However you celebrate Halloween, whether it's you're more into the ghouls and frights or just fun candy or, fun, cute costumes like our little tiny man here, Gimli, sporting a ladybug
costume. We threw it on a little early for this episode so we could try it out. I think he looks really cute.
He definitely loves it and definitely is not wanting to get out of it at all.
He's fine with it. He just doesn't love the hat. I think that's the only, but he doesn't dislike it. He's just chilling.
Until he decides he wants done.
Back off his head. But he's so cute. Yeah. All right. Today's episode is a wholesome Halloween. So we found some wholesome stories from Reddit, as well as a really cute news story that I literally was so excited to share to Wyatt. I was like, this is so cute. I don't want to have to keep this from you. It's too cute. So here we go. Starting with the subreddit Ask Reddit, where there was a question, what are some of your wholesome Halloween stories? And this is one of the top comments that I found. It says, I will start. My small town's Baptist church would always have hot apple cider and donuts free of charge. It was a great way to warm up and made a nice break between houses. Our town's small volunteer fire department also sets up an event where the firefighters will take groups of kids trick-or-treating for parents who are unable to, with parents' permission, of course. That makes sure no kids are left out because parents have to work.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that was really cool. That's because I mean that's a big thing, parents that have to work and stuff like that, and trying to find out should I have them go with their grandparents or should I have them go with their friends' parents? It can be really stressful, I'm sure, for a lot of parents. And so having that option with the volunteer firefighters where they just go out with kids and have them go trick-or-treating in their small town, I think that's so cool.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it works if you have a group of they have a group of friends or something that can go with other parents, because I know we had a small squad of neighborhood kids that would go around with a parent that would kind of follow. I don't remember if they were closely there or they just kind of watched from a distance.
Yeah.
I can't really remember. But not every family has that option, you know? So to have that alternative for people who maybe don't have a support system or another group that can rely on, because sometimes you got to work when you have to work.
Exactly. So making sure no kids are left out of the fun of trick-or-treating, I think that's really, really cool. So none of these stories are super earth-shattering. They're just cute, and they just made me happy. So here we go. Next one comes from the subreddit Wholesome Stories, and it is titled Halloween Handouts. It says, about 6 years ago, my wife and I lived in a suburb with many children. We are childless, and as a result, we enjoy holidays that celebrate kids and their families. Furthermore, my wife is a trained elementary educator, so she is sensitive to kids' needs and wants. Roughly 2017, we lived in a neighborhood in upstate New York, and Halloween was around the corner. My wife decided that the kids would probably be thirsty by the time they got near our house. The adults were probably bored to tears and would likely be lagging behind the kids, eager to get to the next sugar high. We put our minds together and figured there are two appropriate solutions: juice boxes and neon glow sticks. Whenever the kids showed up at the door, we gave them a juice box, had them turn around and wait, and attached a glow stick to their collar at the back so Mom and Dad could see their little bundles of joy running ahead of them to the next haunted house. The fallout? Immediate yells of gratitude from the street from the parents for their glowing global positioning systems we attached to those tiny bundles of joy. The following day, we discovered a trail of empty juice boxes from the house to the street. I wish peace, love, and happiness to you all.
Yeah, I imagine there'd be some cleanup after that.
Yeah, but still, I think that's so smart. Because, I mean, with how dark it is and stuff, especially up here in Minnesota, it gets dark very, very, very early now.
Yeah.
So having those glow sticks attached to the back of the kids as they're running around so that they can be seen easily by the parents, I thought that was super smart. And what a nice way for parents that didn't think of doing something like that to be like, hey, okay, kid, turn around. I'm gonna put a little glow stick on your thing, and the kids probably thought it was cool. It's just such a nice way to help out the parents and stuff, and super, super cute. So
now, would it help as much if it was snowing in a snowstorm?
Right. Oh my my gosh,
knows?
we've had some Halloweens here in Minnesota that are just brutal. You have your costume on, and underneath it you had just layers upon layers of coats and like mittens and stuff like that. I remember going as Hermione Granger, and underneath my robe I was bundled up like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters underneath. It was like I was always upset. I'm like, this isn't the look. This isn't what I was going for. I didn't want to look like this, but that's what you had to do to stay warm. So,
Yeah, it's not usually snowy, but it can be.
It can be. It can be really cold.
I cannot wait till we get to the point where we can stop talking about I can't remember exactly what year, but our record in Duluth for like most snow ever was a Halloween. Like before we were born. So we weren't alive
like
at this point.
or something.
No, it's like 94 or 93. It was definitely before we were born.
Oh my goodness.
It's like their claim to fame, the generation before us. So like, yeah, where were you on that Halloween night? Like, I was trick or treating because I'm a trooper. Like, okay, like
party Minnesotans.
I guess if you did do that, you had that story forever.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
That's its own separate wholesome story, I guess. It's braving the record for snowstorm.
Right. But even when it's not snowing, it's just cold out up here in Minnesota. You see the little 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds that are out, and they're just like shivering, holding their bucket, but they're still having a blast, like trick or treating. And you feel for the parents too that are just walking behind like freezing. But yeah, so just nice ways to kind of share that Halloween cheer to the parents too that are out trick or treating. And the story before that too, with having hot apple cider for the parents, that's super sweet. So thinking about them while they're out there too,
especially when it's cold,
making it special for the kids and the parents. All right, next story here. Oh, you laying down, Gimli? Okay. Next story. Our next story is from the subreddit Best of Positive Updates, and it is titled Completely Unnecessary. It was originally posted in our Instacart. So here we go.
Our Instacart?
Yeah, there's apparently a thread for Instacart, and so that's where it was originally.
There's a thread for everything.
There is.
Never thought that'd appear on our podcast.
Yeah, well, here we go on a Halloween one. Here we go. The story says, I read the rules, and I don't think my story breaks any, but I apologize in advance if it does. I haven't used Instacart that much, even through the pandemic.
Bye, Gimli.
I usually utilize my grocery chain's pickup options, or I just went to the store to shop. The same went for anything I would need from the other local stores like Walmart or Target. It just didn't make so much sense for me personally and financially to utilize it often. That changed this past week. I suddenly found myself alone at home with my 3 kids aged 4, 3, and 8 weeks. Oof, that's a lot. I'd be this way for who knows how long as my wife was brought into the hospital with a blood clot.
Ooh.
This was just before Halloween, so everything was thrown off for me. I had to figure out everything I was going to do for the holiday with the kids solo while fretting about what was going on with my wife. And by that, I mean what is going on with my wife as she is still in the hospital. I decided to use Instacart to get some things to make my kids' Halloween as special as possible. The day of, I loaded my Instacart cart with some Legos that the kids said they wanted, as well as some Smarties. My daughter has severe food allergies to most of the top 8 allergens, and this was the only candy I could trust without inspecting the bags myself. I explained the food allergy situation to my Instacart shopper, Michelle, and I said I just wanted to make Halloween special since my kid's mother was in the hospital. As she's shopping, she told me she found all of the Legos I'd picked out, but that the Smarties were out of stock. I said it was okay, it's Halloween, and I could only hope that a store would have the exact candy I needed. After she checked out, she said she would need to stop for another delivery. I placed the order in the morning so it wasn't time sensitive. I said okay, and I readied myself to see my wife at the hospital, which is about an hour away. I just missed her dropping off the order. Cut to my arrival home a few hours later. I wasn't in the greatest of spirits. I had just pulled into my driveway and my mother-in-law was outside with the kids. She told me she put my order in the back of the car. I opened her trunk and found the order. To my surprise, I found not only the Legos I'd ordered, but 2 massive bags of Smarties, glow sticks, and 2 cards from Michelle, a happy Halloween for the kids and a feel better soon for my wife, both signed by Michelle. I was blown away. It was just completely unnecessary for her to do that for a perfect stranger. She used her own money to buy those Smarties and other items. I started crying. I hadn't told her why my wife was in the hospital. I didn't tell her about the blood clot. I didn't tell her about the 5-centimeter mass they'd found in her heart that had caused it, and the probable future of treatments for what is probably lymphoma. She couldn't have any idea what that would mean to me. She was just a human extending her hand to another human in need, even if she didn't know the details. I just want to thank her, and I'd like to thank all of the shoppers out there for helping people who are in need, even if you don't know it. TLDR, Instacart shopper gets candy and cards on Halloween for sad, overwhelmed husband/father who is eternally grateful for her humanity. Update 1. We have received her official diagnosis.
Oh, we're going straight into the update. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Update number 1. We have received her official diagnosis of mediastinal large cell lymphoma, a form of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. It is the aggressive form, which actually responds to treatment better than the chronic form. The next update says, tomorrow my wife comes home from her last round of chemotherapy. She is in complete remission. I also managed to get Michelle as my shopper one last time a month ago, and I thanked her again for the kind gesture. Unfortunately, she has since moved away from my area, and I'll never have her shop for me again, but I wished her luck in her new adventures.
All I can say is I hope you tipped her well. That is very nice.
That is so, so nice. And she didn't need to do any of that. I'm sure it sounds like she made an extra trip to a completely different store just to try to find those Smarties. It is hard sometimes to find candy, specific types of candy, like the week before Halloween or like the day before Halloween. A lot of stores sell out. Like, it's kind of crazy. At least around here, I've noticed that. It's kind of tricky.
Especially for candies that are maybe outside the typical norm, you know?
Maybe Smarties aren't super popular, I feel like.
Like, even though, like, say, like Reese's or Hershey's or stuff like that is probably
many.
in high demand, but because of that, they probably stock up a lot more on them versus the Smarties maybe don't get as much love, but they still get bought. So, I don't know.
Yep, 100%. But yeah, so what a good dad too, to try to make it special for his kids and stuff when he's like, oh, I don't know how I'm gonna handle this with, 3 littles at home and stuff. I'm probably not gonna be able to. I'm assuming he probably wasn't planning to take them out trick-or-treating by himself, because that sounds like a lot with 3 that are that young.
Yeah,
so
they're very young. I wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't imagine he's planning on that. So just instead be like, I'm going to get them a gift of Legos that they want and like some candy, and we're going to have a special night in and just have that. Because, sometimes you can make it, even if the situation isn't ideal, you can still try to find a creative way to make it special for your kids and stuff. And so I applaud him for doing that. That's awesome. And then for that woman to help him out in that situation and go out of her way to do that, and to give cards that she signed too, not only to the kids to say happy Halloween, but to feel better soon for his wife. Like, that's so sweet. Oh my goodness. That's just so sweet. So I love that story. Super, super cute. All right, our last story for the day is a news article from cbsnews.com. And like I said, this is one that I saw and I was like, oh, audibly out loud. I was like, this is so adorable. And
the last one was already pretty moving.
I know, it's so cute. This one is too, though. And it just made me really happy. And I immediately was like, I gotta tell Wyatt about this. I'm like, wait, no, I gotta keep it. I gotta keep it for the episode. I can't spoil it.
Keeping secrets in our marriage. How?
What? It's hard sometimes. It's hard to save it. Okay, here we go. This one is titled, Trick-or-Treaters Leave Their Halloween Candy for a Child Battling Leukemia. So there was a little 3-year-old girl named Zoe in Georgia that was diagnosed with leukemia, and because she's immunocompromised, her parents didn't want to take her out trick-or-treating out of fear that she would get something, some sort of illness while she was out. So instead, they put up a sign that said, sorry, no candy, child with cancer, see you next year. And the parents said that the only reason that they put that out there was because they didn't want to have kids keep knocking, because they didn't have their porch light on, but kids were knocking and being like, trick or treat. And they're like, oh, I'm sorry, we don't have candy. We're not handing out candy. Please go. Because they didn't want any possibility of transmission of illness.
Yeah.
So they just decided to do that to explain it so that people didn't come up to the door. Well, apparently a bunch of kids throughout the whole night were leaving their Halloween candy next to the sign for the little girl. And so their doorbell camera picked it up, and it shows kid after kid making the same character-defining decision, mostly on their own. To quote the article more further, it says, we tracked down a few of the angels. When the kids were asked if grown-ups were telling them what to do, they said no. While pointing to a friend, one kid said, she dumped out her whole bag. Your whole bag? I asked. I wanted to give back to them, the child responded. So apparently it sounds like the father or the mother, I'm not sure which, went out to be like, what are you doing and stuff, and they're like, yeah, we're giving the candy to them. So that's really, really cool. So yeah, apparently a lot of it was of their own volition. Kids weren't actually not out even with their parents. They just saw the sign and started just dumping their candy out for the little girl.
Kids can be sweet sometimes.
Isn't that cute?
They can be absolute monsters, but they can also be really, really sweet.
Yeah, just doing that out of their own volition and stuff. And especially that one kid that dumped out their entire bag of candy. Like, what? That's so sweet. Oh my gosh. It just made me so happy. I was like, oh. So a nice little wholesome way to end the episode, I thought. So, because you always hear stories of kids stealing buckets of candy that are left unattended. So here's a nice Uno reverse of that story. And instead, kids were giving their candy to somebody who put out a sign like that. So I thought that was awesome.
Before we wrap it up, do you have any favorite Halloween memories or like favorite costumes you've gone to wear growing up?
That's a good question. I remember growing up, there was this one house on our street that every year this lady would just go all out, and she would have, it was kind of like the Haunted Mansion. She'd make her house like the Haunted Mansion a little bit, where she'd have tombstones outside her house, and she put out her whole yard was like a graveyard, and all the tombstones had like silly like here lies Todd. And it would have like some funny way that he like died or whatever. And so they all had little funny witty things written on them. And she had like giant cobwebs everywhere and spooky lights and music, and her windows would light up and there'd be like a silhouette of a witch in it. Like she just went all out, and she would get into character as a witch handing out candy. And it was always the house that I was like, when I was younger, I was always a little scared to go to, but also like super excited. And so it was like our thing every year. Me and my friends would be we'd save that house for last, and we're like, that's gonna be our big grand finale, is going to the scary house at the end of the street. And it was just something that we look forward to every year, was seeing. And she'd add decorations every year, so it was always a little different, and we'd always look forward to seeing what she would do. It was just always super fun. So, and my friends and I would go out every year, so we just had a blast. I remember we'd have our little, like I said, we'd bundle up, and we'd have we had little pumpkin flashlights in the dark and stuff. And yeah, we'd be out for hours trick-or-treating. So yeah, we'd always come back and be just frigid. And my parents we'd play games and stuff. And my mom would make some like orange punch and stuff. And we'd sit around and play games and eat candy. And it was always super fun. So those are my happy Halloween
Did you have a
memories.
favorite costume?
Ooh. My mom, I think my favorite, looking back from like pictures I've seen, my mom used to actually make us a lot of costumes. So one year she made me an Esmeralda costume from Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Okay.
She did an amazing job with it. It was beautiful.
It was pretty intricate really costume.
Cool. Yeah, it was super cool. But yeah, I don't even think she had a pattern for it. She just completely went off of just watching the movie and trying to make it herself. And yeah, every year my mom was awesome. She would always ask us like, what do you want to be for Halloween? And we could be literally anything under the sun. And she would go to the craft store and find the fabric, and she'd make it the best she could. I was like Elizabeth Swann from Pirates of the Caribbean one year. That was really fun. She made me a Hermione costume that I wore many years in a row because I was obsessed with Harry Potter. So yeah. How about you? What are your happy Halloween memories?
I don't have specific memories per se, but I do. My favorite costume I can recall was my friend and I went dressed as this is the one time it was like a planned, like, okay, they build off each other like a little bit. Is Frodo and Samwise Gamgee.
No way! I didn't know you just. That's so cute.
Well, I can't remember what we did exactly with their feet, but like we wore shoes and we like paper mache over them or something.
That's so
I can't remember. It looked like the Hobbit feet, but you know, kid's costume. I was like in fifth grade, I think, and it helped that my friend. He was a dead ringer for Elijah Wood. Like
really?
His hair was that kind of curly. He looked like he was a child, and
hobbits in the movie are short.
Elijah Wood also kind of looks like a child a little bit in the movie. I'll be honest. They no disrespect to Elijah Wood, but at that point he looks like a child, and so like my friend who's like maybe sixth grade at that time really looked like he was a slightly younger version of Frodo, and I was blonde. And I'm blonde and like was a little on the chubby side, and so like I kind of look like Samwise Gamgee a little bit, like kid version of him. So it worked.
That's super
worked. Apparently, we had the cloaks, and yeah,
cute. That's awesome. That's super fun. I love it. So fun.
Excited for our Halloween plans of handing out candy and watching What We Do in the Shadows.
You're looking for a funny.
I wouldn't say it's positive per se, but it's positive
really
in that it's funny and entertaining.
In the Shadows. It's about some vampires living on Staten Island, New York, and it's like a mockumentary style. So think like The Office, but make it vampires. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
It's basically The Office with vampires and rated R.
But yeah, it is rated R. So if you don't like language, I don't recommend. But if you don't mind that, it's really funny.
But it is a feel good in that you just have fun and laugh. I think we actually started watching it after we were watching like
scary
stuff, and we're like we just started feeling kind of we were feeling kind of icky after one particular one. I won't name it specifically, but we felt kind of ick, and so we stopped and we found What We Do in the Shadows. Okay, we've heard it recommended, we'll give it a try, and it was the best decision. It was so funny. So if you're looking for a fun
And if scary movies are your thing too, like that's awesome too. Watch scary movies, have a fun time. We were getting a little too spooked, I think. So
yeah, too ick.
So for us personally, but yeah, celebrate the best way you know how. Have a blast. If you're gonna go out trick or treating, or if you have kids that are going out trick or treating, be safe. Have a lot of fun. And yeah, if you have fun Halloween stories or Halloween plans for tomorrow that if you're watching, listening today,
or if you're watching this after, or listening to it after,
share them down below in the comments if you're on YouTube, or send them to us on Gmail. Maybe we'll talk about it in a future episode. Some fun stories. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Or if you just have other fun and wholesome stories that you want to share, you can send them to us at upliftingpositivestories@gmail.com, or you can share them on our Reddit thread, Uplift Positive Stories. Lots of options to share.
And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment of your own wholesome stories you've had for Halloween or just in general.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Please be sure to join next week for our episode, which is all about the power of our words. It'll be a really good story. Has some really awesome tales of people saying nice things to others that really made a really huge difference in their life. So it's going to be a very fun episode. So thanks so much for joining, and have a great rest of your week, and happy Halloween.
And stay positive.